Cool. There
All
we
right.
go. You're live.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Well, Ken, we're going to start a new tradition here, the Friday happy hour or the Friday a crypto happy hour. And I thought we'd start off with sort of the framing of a crypto bro talking to a crypto Joe. Uh,
I like it.
and in a very brief way, I think for some folks who in the last 6 months, uh, certainly in New Orleans, decided to start exploring Web3, uh, buying an NFT, getting a MetaMask wallet, all those different things, um, seeking to learn about what's going on. And this week specifically has been a crazy week in crypto. So I thought maybe from your perspective, maybe first introduce yourself first, but then could you give us a play-by-play by what's going on within the crypto space and in your insights, what do you think's going on or happening right now?
Sure. Yeah. So, quick introduction. I'm Ken. I'm the CTO at Gilded, a Web3 company here in New Orleans, started in 2018. Um, and yeah, I mean, what's going on right now is it truly is like chaotic out there. I think what we're seeing right now is the continuation of the Terra Luna collapse that happened in May, which really quickly it was just like a crypto protocol that people had put a lot of money in, and it was an algorithmic stable coin, and it basically had a bug in the code and also was under collateralized and collapsed. And so people were holding a stable asset, it went to zero, and now what we're seeing is more fallout from that, where other businesses that were holding this collateral now are underwater on trades that they had made. And so now we've got FTX, and which was, I guess, valued at like a $32 billion company, is now filing for bankruptcy. Just absolutely crazy time. And that should never ever happen with an exchange, right? An exchange, when you're using an exchange, you would expect that the assets you put in are just sitting there and you can pull them out whenever you want. But the phrase in crypto is not your keys, not your crypto. So if you don't own the key, then potentially someone is doing something nefarious with your money. And that is exactly, sadly, what happened right now.
So for all the people saying this is a scam, this is a Ponzi scheme, and this was one of the bigger players within the space. Tell me how should people feel about this? Is this part of the cycle of a new industry, or are there a lot more bad players out there? Or if I'm looking to explore getting involved, what are your insights and what should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, these are good questions. I mean, I think like the first question that should be on people's minds are like, am I exposed to this? Right? Like, am I at risk with the situation that's unfolding? Because it still is very much unfolding. We don't know what is going to happen in the coming days or weeks. And I mean, the first thing you want to do is kind of like take note of where your assets are. Like, do you have them on an exchange right now? Like, and if so, you might want to consider pulling them off for the time being and taking control of them. As far as is the whole thing a Ponzi scheme? No, like not all of crypto is a Ponzi scheme. There's so much really amazing ethical people out there trying to build stuff and working hard just like you are. And it's not a Ponzi. What happened here is straight up fraud, So I think that to classify the whole industry that way is not representative of what's actually occurring. But for sure, I mean, when you're using an exchange, you're kind of having to trust individuals at the end of the day. And the individuals at FTX were clearly not operating totally above board.
So from an exchange, it's not, to really go basic. If I'm on Coinbase, should I be concerned? Or what other exchanges should we be concerned about?
So
that's one most people might be on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I'd say like professionally, I've always recommended Coinbase because one, they have really gone out of their way to be like a really high quality exchange. Brian Armstrong, the CEO, from all of the things that he's written, I would say that his ethos is aligned with, being like pro individual and protective of people's funds as much as he possibly can be. The other thing is that Coinbase is a US regulated entity, and they produce regular audits. They do SEC filings. They're a publicly traded company. I mean, that's about as good of a centralized place to hold your crypto funds that I could think of. Um, but that Coinbase, it turns out, could be an exception to this rule, right? I mean, there have been many exchange collapses over the years, and people's funds have gone missing or stolen.
Yep.
Coinbase is not in that category, but it's tough to say what could happen if an exchange was hacked or something went wrong. Like Coinbase in their SEC filings in spring of this year basically said, look, if our company became insolvent for some reason, we would be required by law to hold our customers' funds as a non-collateralized loan, like basically interest free.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were pretty upset about that, but I think it's the truth that if Coinbase as a business got in trouble, they would have to hold customer funds. And I think that's just something to remember when you're trusting an entity with your crypto.
So in this cycle feels a little bit like certainly the .com bust, then also the 2008, different washout periods. In your mind, who are the strongest companies other than Coinbase? Who are the ones that within what we're trying to play with, MetaMask or other crypto-oriented companies? In your mind, who are the ones that are going to emerge out of this cycle? Not only the strongest, but the leaders in this pack.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think leaders in this space are going to be the ones that figure out custody in a really simple way. Certainly, if we're thinking about companies like Coinbase, I mean, that's a really high bar. I mean, it's an excellent business. I think what I'm looking for are decentralized products or like trading entities, where you can hold your own crypto and not have to trust anyone else in order to transact with it. Businesses that are simplifying the onboarding process. I mean, I know you experience firsthand the difficulties of onboarding and how much time that can take. And I think that's going to continue to be a challenge and really a place that we're going to see a lot of innovation over the next 5 years for sure. I mean, it's just going to continue getting better and better and better. And I expect it won't even look the same. We've seen there's been a lot of innovation, but we can hardly tell because there's still so much friction. I think that's going to escalate a lot.
So last two questions. You've been involved in this a long, long time. Are you more optimistic, more pessimistic, or where's your mindset in all this, watching all this?
Yeah. Admittedly, I think that this situation has pushed the industry back several years.
Yep.
Very nefarious stuff that FTX is involved with. Sam Bankman-Fried has been in DC literally just 2 weeks ago trying to craft new legislation that I think is going to put the industry in the wrong direction. And something to kind of keep in mind here, it's not American exchanges that are blowing up like this. It's the unregulated ones that are not domiciled in the United States. And if it is true, the type of legislation that they're trying to craft is more restrictive and less open for innovation, it's going to continue to push American investors in crypto offshore and subject them to even more risk than if we just regulated these types of things in the US. So I am a little bit pessimistic that, the lobbyists, or not the lobbyists, but the congressmen and women that have worked with FTX have kind of gotten burned, and I think that we may have lost some footing in this race. So I'm a little bit pessimistic, but I'm also hopeful at the same time because there's so much development happening in this space. I mean, there's just countless new innovations happening every day, and that's not going to change. It doesn't matter what the spot price is of an asset. The technology is going to persist. No fundamentals have changed.
So what's your last bit of advice going forward in terms of the optimism looking forward? So what are you most excited by? Yeah, as we're going through this, we launched a new society in a down cycle, which ironically was going to be probably, hopefully, looking back, a smart time to do it. What are you most excited by 6 months, a year, 5 years from now?
The the most exciting things. Well, I'm definitely excited to see what we're doing next year. And that's definitely something I'm looking forward to and talking to people about all the time. But um, aside from that, I mean, I'm definitely interested to see ways that uh, Web3 becomes just like kind of part of the fabric of the conversation. Like it won't be that you're doing a Web3 project. It's just that what you're building on is Web3, and it doesn't matter what it's built on, right? Like I don't tell people what databases I build on or like what coding languages I use. Like that's not the selling point. So I think it's very interesting to think about a future where people are building in Web3 and but not having to mention Web3 because it's just what everyone's doing.
It's not the information superhighway, which the internet was.
Right,
Remember that?
right, exactly.
Well, Ken, thank you. I know you're having a beer at the New right now, and hopefully the beer's cold and the music is playing. Thank you for your time. Yeah, I think as we go on this journey, having you and other folks who really are deep into Web3 connect with folks who are new to help think through together how we not only manage through this, but hopefully you'll be available for different questions as things go along. So thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Have a great weekend and have a beer at the New.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Tim. And